This podcast is brought to you by Deepbridge Capital LLP. Deepbridge is authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. Please note that investments discussed are both illiquid and high risk and won't be suitable for all investors and should be considered as part of a diversified portfolio. The content of this podcast should not be construed as financial or taxation advice. We recommend investors seek appropriate professional financial advice. Any views expressed may no longer be current and may have already been acted upon. Welcome to this latest Deepbridge Discovery Podcast. My name is Andrew Aldridge. I'm partner and head of marketing at Deepbridge Capital. The purpose of these podcasts is to bring to life our companies, our people here at Deepbridge. So today I'm delighted to be joined by our partner and head of renewables, Andrew Hughes. Thanks for joining us, Andrew. Really good to have you on this Deepbridge Discovery Podcast.
Pleasure.
First and foremost, can you just give our listeners a little bit of a background to you kind of prior to joining Deepbridge?
Yeah, sure. I started my adult life in the army, 20 years as an officer in the infantry. Lots of sort of planning issues and getting things done all over the world. Decided to retire after 20 years. Family reasons. Worked for the family business, which is sort of export packaging, part of which involved holding at any one time sort of 50 or 60 wind turbined nacelles, as I am now very happy to call them, and the blades, quite small ones. But when I met Ian Warwick, the managing partner, that was part of our discussion early days, and then I found myself working here at Deepbridge starting 7 years ago, almost exactly. So that was a rapid trot through 30 years, basically.
Well, I guess, as you said, kind of being an officer in the army and things, you're used to getting stuff done, getting things done on time and all that kind of stuff, which I guess kind of leads itself into project managing and kind of doing what you do now with renewables.
Yeah, absolutely. Most of what you do is involves planning of some description, and in the army it's done fairly strictly and stringently, so very used to sort of getting ducks in a row and making sure things are where they should be at the right time and in the right place. So project management is definitely something I feel very comfortable doing, and it is something now, I think, with civilianising everything, it's part and parcel of what goes on at Sandhurst and then all your sort of professional developments after that. So modern retirees from the army have got qualifications for it, but I did it practically, and I'm quite happy to stick with that.
Yeah, I guess you're not afraid to get your boots dirty and get out on site as well, and go and see kind of wind turbines being put up and hydropower plants being put in.
It was definitely one of the things that I like doing. It's definitely one of the things that I do like doing. Having spent the first 10 years of my career in Northern Ireland, going back there to look at where our wind turbines are was a bit strange at first, but I know my way around, so it's all right. You
know the ground.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, very good. So, as you said, several years ago, you joined Deepbridge and founded the renewables team. Well, the team was just you to start with, obviously.
Yeah.
What kind of were the goals and the objectives then, and why did you join the team to set that up?
Well, basically, at the time, the renewables part of Deepbridge was like our tech and life sciences. It was EIS. Now, obviously, asset-backed EIS doesn't work, so we've moved with the times. But when I started, as you inferred there, Deepbridge was growing. The team was small. They didn't have anyone specifically looking after it, so they needed someone to come in and make sure that our clients' money was being invested into what it should have been, and it was being used for that. And the wind turbines that we're putting up were on time, to budget, and we got what we were paying for. So at the time, the team didn't have anyone that was able to do that, and I was brought in. So certainly my first 12, 18 months, a lot of it was spent in Northern Ireland watching sort of big holes being filled with concrete and towers going up and the turbines being fitted and energised. So it was a busy time, but we got it done. So our first portfolio, if you like, was an EIS portfolio, 5 turbines. And yeah, they got up, and we've recently exited that. So all our renewables now is in the State Planning Service, and that will remain the case going forward.
Excellent. And I guess a lot of your time then is, like you said, when you're out on the ground, is meeting with contractors, developers, O&M contractors, etc.
Absolutely. it is quite a small world, the renewables world, and certainly, Northern Ireland, lots of people know each other, so a lot of our contacts have developed through meeting people, and obviously very happy to sort of go and meet people, and there are lots of opportunities out there, and certainly what we're planning to do in the future, word of mouth is a big part of it, and you hear things, as Deepbridge has grown, people come to us more and more asking if we'd be interested in things, so getting out there, wherever that may be, is always a benefit to the company.
So I guess your role then is COVID probably impacted it slightly, but I guess, what is it, 30, 40, 50% of your time out on the road, kind of meeting people and things in an ideal world?
Yeah, absolutely. Very keen on, looking at people in the eyes, and, people can talk about things and that doesn't happen. But if you're on the ground, you can see it, then there's a lot more clarity, and you've got much more confidence in what you might be investing in. So, we would never invest in something that we haven't seen. Word of mouth isn't good enough, pictures aren't good enough. We will get out wherever that is, Northwest Scotland, Northern Ireland, all over the world, hopefully in the future, if that's where we move to. But everything's been UK based so far. So, there's no excuse not to get out there, and we definitely do.
So can you tell us a little bit more about the renewable assets that we've invested in to date as Deepbridge, and how representative of that in general is the estate planning service?
Yeah, so, well, obviously we started with wind. We were building our own experience in that area, so we were comfortable operating in the wind space. From there, we moved to hydro. A couple of opportunities came up. We've got a hydro site just north of Glasgow that's been operating now for 5 years. Again, we were very lucky with the developer there was superb and kept us in the picture all the way through. So Drimley was energised on time, qualified for a subsidy feed-in tariff. It's well looked after now and has been booming away for 5 years, as I said. And a lot of what we do is making sure that what we have is well looked after. So the operations and maintenance side of it is key to making sure that we get the most out of everything that we've invested in. So that's very closely monitored going forward. And then from there, it is important to diversify what we invest in. The wind doesn't blow all the time. It doesn't rain all the time, despite what you may think.
Even in Scotland?
Even in Scotland,
okay.
Absolutely. But, so we have to diversify what assets we go into. An opportunity arose in Northern Ireland with the developer that we use out there at one of the wind sites to look at doing an anaerobic digestion site, which does operate all the time. So the big difference is that requires a fuel, which we avoided initially because we didn't have to. But as the portfolio got bigger, we had to diversify. So after a lot of due diligence, we entered into the AD world, and the first site is up and running. It's doing what it should, and it's complementing what we've got in wind and hydro at the moment. Going forward, solar will definitely be something that we will look at getting involved in. Again, we need to keep diversifying what we put, not putting all our eggs in one basket. So solar will definitely be something, and also hydrogen is a very interesting proposition at the moment. That could be not necessarily just the production of it, but also the supply chain part as well.
Excellent. You mentioned anaerobic digestion there. Obviously, in our world, there's been some high-profile issues with anaerobic digestion sites. I know that you and the team have looked at kind of what's happened elsewhere to make sure that we've got mitigating input to prevent that kind of happening again. Can you quickly just kind of clarify kind of what some of those key issues have been and kind of how we go about kind of mitigating that?
Yeah, sure. We did it in Northern Ireland, so the AD is in Northern Ireland, so the subsidy there is ROCs. You get more subsidy in Northern Ireland than you do on the UK mainland. The farms that we're in with the other two AD sites that are being developed now are big farms. So it's not one man and his dog, it's the big working farms with proper offices, lots of people there. They've been involved in the process throughout, so they've been trained. They can do the daily monitoring, so there are people on site 24 hours a day that can do it. It is their responsibility to provide the feedstock. So if there is a feedstock issue, which has happened at some sites, if you've got to start shipping it in, that obviously adds costs. So if you haven't modelled it, it would become an issue, and that is where some of these sites have failed in the past. But the farmer, it's his responsibility to provide, so he gets paid for what he provides, and if he doesn't get paid, so that mitigates some of the cost. Northern Ireland's quite small, obviously, in comparison to mainland UK, so there are a number of AD sites there. They're set up for it, so the distances to travel are much smaller. So if we do have a small problem, then it isn't actually that big a problem to get it shipped in.
You can get feedstock from other farms.
And we went for 3 sites ourselves so that we can help ourselves. And one of the other issues with AD is, the biological mix in the tanks. If that goes wrong, unless something crashes into it, it's not it would have to be a catastrophic incident, but then insurance would pay for it. If over time it starts deteriorating, then you can export in better biomass to get it back on stage. So it's well monitored. There's a 3-month supply. So again, if we've got a feedstock issue, it's not an overnight issue. We will see it coming and we'll have time to rectify it. And in the end, we decided it was worth investing in. So it took a long while to get to that stage, but in the end we were happy. So we've got 3 AD sites, one operating and 2 on the way.
Excellent. I think you alluded to it before, but in terms of the wind turbines to date and the AD sites, why Northern Ireland?
The main reason initially was the subsidies. In Northern Ireland with the wind, the sub 250 kilowatt turbines got 4 renewable obligation certificates. The equivalent in England, for example, got 0.9. So we were getting 4 times the subsidy. And it's a standard, it changes sort of annually slightly, but you know what you're going to get. So there's no fluctuation. If energy prices change, it wouldn't impact on the turbines. And, 80% of what they currently get is a government-backed subsidy. The AD was the same. And also some of them are co-located with the wind sites. So the subsidies were much better in Northern Ireland. Is the main reason, really.
And then I guess since then you've built up connections and the kind of network in the area is useful going forward. Yeah,
they do look after them. It's not in anybody's interest for things to fail. The farmers want things to work, and certainly for the AD, Northern Ireland is very well set up to support each other, and there are lots of wind turbines. Anybody that's been there, there's not many hills there that haven't got a turbine on.
So you've talked about the subsidies, particularly in Northern Ireland. Obviously, a lot of those subsidies, so the renewable obligation certificates, are no longer available for new build sites, etc. So what does that mean for new sites or for Deepbridge and your planning of new projects?
It just means now that we're very open to buying existing sites. It's a very easy process for us. You can see there's historical data of what that turbine has produced. If it's got a subsidy, great. The value of it will be higher. But you can very quickly look at the data that's there and you can put a price on it, and it either works or it doesn't. So we don't have to waste an awful lot of time deciding whether a deal's good enough or not. We know what we need to give back to our investors, the 4% return that we offer. If it doesn't work, we don't buy it. So that's one option. The other option is we go bigger. We make things bigger, whether it's wind, hydro, AD, solar. A lot of the cost is a grid connection. So one 250 kilowatt site, it's not much more to connect a 3 megawatt wind turbine instead. So a lot of the costs can be better. The technology is getting better. And so, we know what we have to give back to our clients. If it doesn't work, we don't do it.
And I guess ultimately the larger turbines are less reliant on subsidies, is that right?
Yes, because the actual sort of capital cost of them on the grand scheme of things is reduced. But yeah, we know what we need to give back to the clients. If it doesn't work, we don't do it.
And one of the questions we've often been asked is about gearing on assets, and we quite rightly say that none of our assets currently have any gearing. Why is that, and how does that work?
Well, as we've grown, we haven't had to do it. So, if we say a wind turbine, for example, is £1 million, when we've got £1 million, we'll build another wind turbine, and we've built all our wind so far. We haven't had to gear it. So, if an opportunity, or if we had to sort of get some liquidity, we own everything that we've got. So the liquidity is inbuilt, whether it's one turbine or you look at all 9 wind turbines that we've got in the estate planning service at the moment, with the AD, with the hydro, actually we own it all. So we haven't had to gear it. It's not to say that we wouldn't going forward, if an opportunity came up and that was the only option to do it and we thought it was worthwhile, then we would look at everything, and if it's an opportunity, we would take it.
Excellent. So I guess kind of looking back at your time at Deepbridge so far, what particular highlights have you had from that period?
I guess the big one at the start was finishing that first EIS portfolio of 5 turbines, getting all of those up and running and spinning, and then equally when we exited from it as well. So having
a profitable exit is always nice. Always
well,
yes, highlight, yeah.
Absolutely. But it was sort of having literally seen the holes being dug, going through that whole process, managing them, and then exiting. That was nice. So I guess that was the highlight so far. It was from start to finish. It's been a journey.
And then kind of going forward, I guess, kind of the next 12 months, 3 years, kind of what are your objectives or goals, or what you're aiming to achieve?
In the next 12 months, it's definitely finishing the stuff that we've got in build at the moment. That is a priority. So, as I mentioned, 2 ADs and a hydro site that we're waiting to get connected at the moment. They're the priorities over the next 12 months. Beyond that, the sort of 24, 36 month points, identifying opportunities, expanding the portfolio to include things like solar, certainly. And then, opportunities are out there. So it's finding the good ones and seeing them through.
And where do those opportunities come from? Are they generally through contacts and personal connections, etc., or is there kind of anything more kind of process-driven or streamlined, etc.?
Yeah, there are plenty of people that we're involved with. For example, the British Hydropower Association, we work with very closely. We get some opportunities through them. There are various organisations out there that push people our way. But now Deepbridge has become a bit of a name in the renewable world that people know what we do and what we want. So very few weeks go by without an opportunity coming along, and we can pretty quickly turn around a yes or no answer as to whether or not we'd be interested. So if the money's there, we'd like to spend it. It needs to be deployed. If the opportunity's there, we'll take it.
Brilliant. So kind of away from the working life then, just so our listeners can kind of get to know you as a person a bit better, kind of what's your personal interests away from the office?
I say football loosely because I support Tranmere Rovers. So I watch League 2 football currently, which is a bit of a step up from the National League, which I have been watching recently. I play football still. So sport, I guess, is my main passion. I've got 4 children, so they keep me on my toes as well. And running around after them, playing sport, football in particular, again, is something that takes up quite a lot of my time. But football, I guess, is...
No, very good. Good. And again, I say this every time, but it's we're not taking you to a desert island for copyright reasons. But if you were to be stranded somewhere, kind of what would be the book you'd take, what film would you take, and what song or album would you take?
I guess I like music. I'm not into music. I like it. It has, my wife describes me of having the music choice of a sort of 14-year-old teenage girl. But in terms of an album, I guess it would probably be definitely maybe Oasis. That sort of, I was in Northern Ireland for 6 months before mobile phones, before any sort of streaming and stuff. So I got a letter with a tape in it, and that was definitely maybe. So
it takes you back to a time and place.
Yeah. Well, and I guess most of my firm music choices take me to a time and a place. So songs remind me of places that I've been. So yeah, I'd say definitely maybe.
Fair enough. And then a book?
I guess it's The Lord of the Rings, but then I can't say that for a film. Yeah, again, I'll pick books up and I'll read them, and I've got a very well-read copy of The Lord of the Rings, so yeah, I'll go for that.
Andrew, thank you very much for your time joining us, and and we look forward to catching up with you again in the next few months to hear more about how the Deepbridge Estate Planning Service is progressing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us. If you have any queries or topics that you'd like to be covered in future podcasts, please email us at discovery@deepbridgecapital.com, and please look out for our future podcasts. We look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you. This podcast was brought to you by Deepbridge Capital LLP. Deepbridge is authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. Please note that investments discussed are both illiquid and high risk and won't be suitable for all investors and should be considered as part of a diversified portfolio. The content of this podcast should not be construed as financial or taxation advice. We recommend investors seek appropriate professional financial advice. Any views expressed may no longer be current and may have already been acted upon.